On June 2020, lead champion producer Ryan Reeve 3 Morales posts a champion roadmap discussing the release of currently unnamed, but now we know them to be, Lilia, Yone and Samira. At the end of the blog, he teases 2 upcoming champions, with one being a sensational mage. On October 28th, this sensational mage is released as Seraphine, the starry-eyed songstress, a mid-lane enchanter with a musical thematic. And people hated her. This video is to take a deep dive into Seraphine's story as both a character and a champion, because I think the build-up to her release is the most wildly controversial of anyone else's in League, and also the most interesting. Hi besties, this is funny because I already have to make an edit in post. So I just want to say this is a video essay intended for everyone. I'm going to give some context real quick that I didn't say before. So something I forgot to mention is that League releases 6 new champions every year, 1 for at least of each of the 5 roles, and that every champion comes with a release skin, whatever it might be. Champions also get released onto League's PvE servers, which is to test bugs and refine all the material, before releasing the official stuff into the main game 2 weeks later. Okay, I think that's everything. I'm so sorry. Let's get on with the video. On June 26th, the Twitter and Instagram account Sera.wave posts artwork selfies with the caption "Hello World", continuing this with a short tweet explaining that she started her accounts to share her music and connect with people. There is absolutely nothing connecting her to League at this point, and throughout these early stages of Seraphine's accounts, she seems to be an artist's personal project, an ARG, or maybe even something similar to those fake 3D model women on Instagram. The following day, June 27th, Seraphine posts another selfie with a whiteboard introducing us to her music corner. On the whiteboard, it has a drawing of her with "hello" written in both English and Chinese. In hindsight, we can see that this is extremely early onset relations to her coming to League, with the World's 2020 Championships being held in Shanghai later that year. Seraphine continues to tweet like a real person, saying things that are relatable and retweeting other artists' work. She continues frequently posting these photos of herself. And we have to talk about these selfies really quick, because their art style can be a bit uncanny to some, and it's obvious that she isn't a real person. Well, the thing is, she could be. The way this is done looks like someone has posed for these photos, perhaps an actor, and is then painted over afterwards with Seraphine's character design. It's honestly very smart, and with the pure amount of self-portraits that she's tweeting, it makes sense to draw efficiently like this. And it looks good. All the artwork created for Seraphine is gorgeous in my opinion. In the following photos, we get a name for her cat, which is Bao. I love this photo of her. I know it's an old meme or something, but cute girl with cute cat is timeless. This all adds to having Seraphine feel real, like a real person, interacting with others online and just sharing their life, which some may argue is part of her problem. But I'm getting ahead of myself. On the morning of July 5th, Sera tweets this, which is a foreshadowing of the preview she'll release later in the day for her cover of Childhood Dreams by ARY. So far, Seraphine has really been pushing this image of her being a one-man band, singing and songwriting for herself, mixing her own music and creating her own graphics and artwork. She's an independent creator, a talented woman with self-doubts and loves to support her fellow creators. This just keeps getting reinforced as she's very active on Twitter and Instagram, again retweeting realistic and, this word again, relatable posts. It's noted that most of the work she's advertising is indie musicians and small artists, and is really bringing that cozy and tight-knit community feel over these days. I especially like the executive decision to have her tweet this. On July 16th, she tweets that something exciting is coming, and the following day drops the full cover of Childhood Dreams. And I remember all my childhood dreams. I find it So let's talk about this first cover, and I'd love to say that every single photo she releases of her as a child is actually nightmare fuel. And I really don't have a problem with the adult photos of Seraphine, but the ones where she's a child are just... In an interview with ARY, we find out that Childhood Dreams was written at a time when she found that everything was new to her. She was just getting started in her music career and realized how much she'd have to do to make her dreams become reality. It's about representing the balance between love, safety, and ambition, and how she looks back on her childhood dreams and compared them to her reality. So why did Seraphine cover this as her first music instance from a marketing standpoint? Well, I just said it. The situations of Seraphine and AOI are very similar. Seraphine is supposedly beginning her music career and putting herself out into the world, with everything being new to her. Seraphine is chasing her ambition. Much like ARY, Seraphine dubs herself an indie musician, also putting a tag on the original tweet of bedroom pop. Apparently, it's when young artists start by making music in their bedrooms and upload the songs to platforms such as YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. It's usually done to use the internet to get unknown stars into viral fame. And I won't lie, bestie, this audio quality and production is suspiciously good for bedroom pop. At this stage, the account still wasn't well known, if known at all. We have no reason to believe Seraphine isn't an indie musician, and that's exactly what Riot's marketing team wants you to think. We need to forget the knowledge now that she's a champion and everything we know about her, and realize that Riot did a good job with pushing each stage of Seraphine's character up until the release in the game. August 1st, Seraphine drops these sets of photos, which are literally so good. I think these are my favorite from the entire batch. She just looks so beautiful. We also get this photo of Bao, which isn't edited, compared to a previous one where it is, which is really weird, but also this cat is cute, so who cares. Some photos of Seraphine seem to blend with reality at varying qualities. For some, almost the entire photo is painted over, and in others, it's really just her face and hands. It makes me wonder about whether some of the art was being made in real time. On August 6th, Sarah teases this audio clip of this melody. August 12th, we get this photo of Sarah and Bao with a Tibbers plush in the background. She talks about her move to LA, which is the location of the League headquarters, and all this together is really showing different choices Riot made to link her to them. Obviously, by this point, people have no idea who she is. Nobody should suspect this up-and-coming musician is actually in League, and speaking of that, she reaches 100 followers on August 19th, but the celebrations aren't over yet, as the following day, Seraphine reaches her next milestone, which is,
What? What the fuck?
So what happened? How did this unknown indie musician go from just hitting 100 to over 10 times that in under 24 hours? A leak from Streamy on August 20th reveals that a champion called Seraphine is the sensational mid-lane musical mage spoken about in the previous June 2020 roadmap. Seraphine isn't someone's passion project. She isn't a small marketing team or just a normal person. She's the product of a $377 billion company. The Sera.wave accounts begin to grow exponentially over the 24 hours, getting over 13k followers by the end of the day. After her success, Seraphine links her SoundCloud rap in the thread of a viral tweet, just kidding of course, and in general acts like an artist would if they blew up out of nowhere. She tweets about not believing it's true, her gratefulness, and then posts a fan art thread. In it, some posts tag League and talk about her being the leaked champion, and at this point it's basically confirmation alongside everything else. Her following media tweets gain at least over 10,000 likes per post, and on August 20th she is especially active. It's hard to know if Riot predicted these leaks and whether they knew her account would blow up at all, but since that's something we can't answer, we can only speculate. Let's talk about the obvious then. Her entire personality until now is handcrafted, fake, and a product of careful advertisement. Not really, and I don't believe that this is true for multiple reasons. Obviously, she isn't an indie musician at all, and is part of Riot Games. Seraphine is set up to never fail, despite what her many tweets want you to think. And that's okay. Seraphine is telling a story. This is the first part of her story, and the first part of many musicians' stories. We all start somewhere. Yes, it's mostly unrealistic, but she isn't real at all in the first place. Her entire thing is being relatable, and her existence is telling her musical story in a unique way. There is also something important that happened on this day that I haven't mentioned. It's going to need some context. KDA, standing for Kills, Death, Assists, is League's musical girl group consisting of the champions Ari, Akali, Evelyn, and Kaisa. Evelyn and Kaisa are voiced by American singers Madison Beer and Jyra Burns, whereas Ari and Akali are voiced by G-Idol members Mion and Soyeon. KDA is an elaborate promotion of the in-game skins, which is the KDA skin line. These are probably the most important skins in the game, and also one of the best. And this is mainly due to the great advertisement of them by releasing a hit song along with it, Popstars. As of April 2022, Popstars has amassed over 500 million views. And even when I had no real idea what League was, and no idea who the champions were, I loved the animation and the characters, and I even learned their names. All this also furthered Riot's reputation as a music and animation company, which also just happens to have a decent game along with it, which is a running joke with every new animation that Riot releases. Ever since their initial release, people wanted more of them. Players were hoping for a comeback, which is a K-pop group returning with new music, usually a new album after a period of time without releasing anything. And on the same day as Seraphine's leak, on August 20th, KDA announces this long-awaited comeback on the KDA Music Twitter. And I'm pretty sure the world broke. Their banner is updated with what is assumed to be their new KDA skins, and everyone is just going feral. So now, speculations of Seraphine's relation to KDA are running rampant. People think she might have her own band, like KDA, have a collaboration with them, or be a permanent fifth member. She tweets about the new KDA album, and honestly, this is evil. I can almost hear the giggling from the team after she tweets this. On August 21st, Seraphine releases a voice memo of her singing to Popstars.
Try but we're gonna wear the crown. But you're not bringing us down. Da-da-da, da-da-da-da.
She talks about pulling all-nighters and working hard. And the next day, she releases a full cover to the song, directly atting the KDA Music Twitter and celebrating the return of the comeback with the KDA is back hashtag. Seraphine is releasing banger after banger, and in a totally shocking turn of events, KDA notices her and likes the cover on Twitter. She continues to post every day, replying to people who respond to her tweets, and only 2 days later, on August 22nd, reaches 100,000 followers. Her growth continues and continues, her account now mainly dedicated to talking about KDA. She really does look like a fan account. Really, this is an advertisement of herself and her release into the game, and everyone was quite excited to see this interesting form of marketing and how high quality it was. August 24th, she posted this photo, and this is the true beginning of her rising star. I found something really interesting when going through her replies, and with all the leaks coming out, she actually responds to one of them. Someone tweets this photo at her, in which she replies, "Is this supposed to be me?" This is actually official artwork and is a leak of her final KDA skin, and it's actually very strange that the marketing team decided to have her respond to it. Seraphine's internet persona continues through the days with her growth.
Meanwhile,
On August 27th, The Baddest drops and
Lord have mercy. We must stay focused, brothers. We must stay.
man, everything about it is so good. That's irrelevant right now. I could do an entire video talking about my obsession with KDA and the art direction and fashion choices if people would be interested. I just think they're all icons and this is an amazing marketing strategy.
We must stay.
On August 28th, Sarah teases some good news from her and Bao, but says they can't tell us yet. But really, everyone already knew. Akali had some photo shoot photos released with the exact same art style as Seraphine, and everything is coming together. She coincides with the release of the new KDA album, is a singing and music themed champion, and has been interacting with them and their accounts frequently. The build-up continues, Seraphine releasing a lot of selfies and posts, asking to guess where she's going, saying she's going to work, and continuing to respond to fan art. Of course, on September 4th, everyone's suspicions were confirmed with this group photo. KDA and Sarah.wave were collabing. She also sends a separate tweet confirming her collaboration with KDA on their album and that she would be featured on one of their songs. This is truly Seraphine's rise to stardom, and people were beginning to have concerns about her, more specifically her in-game character. The following day, we receive a leak from Skin Spotlights, revealing two of her in-game abilities, her E and passive, which in itself was a problem with some people, which we'll get into later. This information was out for a while in Wild Rift, the mobile version of League, with people not really knowing who it belonged to. These ability leaks suggested that she would be played in mid lane, with possibilities of being a support. But this does remind us of something, that with all this KDA buzz we've seemed to forgot. She's a League of Legends champion. We have no idea what Seraphine's base appearance will look like at this point. So far, Seraphine has been seen wearing modern clothes and living in a modern setting. Runeterra, League's universe, has a completely separate world and a completely different aesthetic. She's seen pictured with the original 4's new KDA outfits, heavily implying that she'll have her own, but that's all. This is the beginning of her fall for some, as this will only further people's opinion on her, that she is to sell a new KDA skin, but we'll talk about that in more detail in a later segment. It's September 6th, and KDA's Twitter account advertises their new Harmonies comic, featuring Seraphine and all the other members. Again, I'd love to talk about every chapter more, but for now I'll just say the key details. This comic chapter features Akali primarily, and her building a relationship with Seraphine. They talk about the group and Seraphine's uneasiness with collaborating on the album, which has been seen in her tweets, and Akali comforts her. The next significant tweet regarding Seraphine is September 12th, featuring her drinking boba and furthering her modern backstory that she works in her father's boba shop, which she has now left to pursue her music career full time. A day later, Seraphine's chapter on the Harmonies comic is released, revealing how she was introduced into the group from a phone call from Ari. And a day after, this cute signatured photo with Ari and Sarah is posted on Twitter. Seraphine continues to doubt herself, tweet frequently, retweet art, and discuss her collaboration. Evelyn's Harmonies chapter is released September 20th, which doesn't feature Seraphine at all. And on September 23rd, this signatured photo of Akali is posted of them together. Seraphine makes an especially interesting tweet talking about her dynamics with the group, saying that she felt Evelyn was mad at her for messing up during practice. As a reminder, these are fictional characters, nobody is actually mad with her. This type of tweeting began to anger people, feeling like it was creating a strange dynamic with those who would comfort her over these posts, despite knowing that she was simply a League character. Seraphine's self-doubting posts continue until the sudden release of her cover of All the Things She Said, featuring Jasmine Clark, Absa Facto and Kosuke
Kasha.
So much like Childhood Dreams, let's look at the meaning and backstory of this song and why they might have chosen this as her third cover. All the Things She Said is a song by TATU, and the origin of the song is that one of the co-writers, Eleanor Kuiper, had a dream where she was kissing another woman. This premise does make it into the lyrics via the vocalist being concerned by the acknowledgement that she is a lesbian, and throughout the song seems to be in denial about it. The song is about the realization that she's in love with another woman. So Seraphine? This is also posted shortly after everything that happened with Akali, where they stayed up all night talking, so...
Coincidence? I think not!
There really is no reason as to why she covers this song, and honestly the song doesn't leave a lot of room for other interpretations. She's quite vague with it herself, stating that she's been processing through a lot lately, but making this was cathartic in a way. Everything is wishy-washy, not confirming or denying. Some fans believed she might be bi due to her colour scheme being that of the bi flag, and in general dressing in that typical bisexual femme fashion. However, jumping ahead a bit, at one point she links her personal Spotify playlist Sarah Feelings. On it there are a lot of smaller musicians, but most significantly Girl in Red. So let's get back on track and talk about the initial tweet of the cover. For the first time, you can stream the song on Spotify, and this featured list is very interesting because who is Jasmine Clark? And this raises a very important question that I've neglected to bring up. Who is Seraphine? Who is her voice? Who is her music? Who is singing all of these covers for her? So far, a lot of people had speculations, but in the end it is confirmed to be Jasmine Clark, the same person featured on her cover and featured on every song in Seraphine's music on Spotify thereafter. Some background information of who Jasmine Clark is. She's an independent singer and songwriter from Perth who moved to Los Angeles in 2014 to pursue music. Sound familiar? She's known for singing in English, Mandarin, Korean and Japanese, and across genres of pop, R&B, soul and K-pop. The 2020 roadmap released during this month talks about a music-themed champion who is Piltover and Zorn's rising star, and shares a screenshot from Seraphine's splash art. Her location is revealed, Piltover and Zorn. We'll talk about this more in the later part of this video, and speaking of sections, I think it's time to move on to the next one, which is Seraphine's final act. Sarah continues with her tweets, similar to before, alongside the activity of the main KDA Twitter, with the album now having a release date of the 6th of November. Seraphine continues doubting herself despite her success, and I feel like this is important. Even though she's fictional, she's representing a real musician's story. Despite things going her way, she's still struggling and not being confident in herself. It's an important message to put out that was completely lost on people who felt like it was cringe. Even without all this, Seraphine was quickly becoming a highly anticipated and unique champion. She's featured with Kaisa and a signed photo, wearing Evelyn's glasses, releasing music snippets, and a signed photo with Evelyn, along with the final Harmonies comic releases. KDA's Twitter account teases the album's song names on the 9th of October, with the song More having a release date on the 28th, less than 2 weeks away. This song is also coinciding with Seraphine's official release into the game. Seraphine's base model is to be revealed on October 12th, as she's released onto the PBE. We still have no idea what Seraphine's base model will look like, and we know more about her KDA skin than her actual in-game model. On October 12th, Seraphine and KDA goes to Shanghai for Worlds 2020. and a YouTube video is released teasing the KDA All Out event, which shows off each new KDA model, including Seraphine's. Wait, 3 models? So her release skin is an ultimate. Just a quick crash course, League has 5 different categories of skins, with non-epic, epic, legendary, mythic, and ultimate. If we use looks as a reference, you can see the difference between them all, with growing quality as it works its way up the ranks, with the price increasing as well. Ultimate skins are unique every time, usually packed with content, and for Seraphine it's no different. When you first buy the skin, you start with the first form of Seraphine, the indie form, from her journey on social media, creating music from her bedroom with only a few followers. After completing missions in her quest lines, you unlock the Seraphine that was discovered later on, who is a more confident musician and has many fans and a wealth of talent. And last, after completing the final mission, you unlock the fully realized Seraphine, who is an international pop star with fans all over the world, which is the Seraphine we haven't quite talked about yet. They reveal all of this alongside Seraphine's basic champion release, which we'll get into very soon, but for now let's stay on track with the KDA Seraphine and her social media. Seraphine releases her original song, Made Me This Way, on October 16th, which is her final song to be released without the collaboration of KDA, and represents her growth as a character, with the lyrics talking about her self-reflection on flaws, fears, and knowing yourself. It's a celebration and self-acceptance.
Telling myself it's only the start. Baby, look what you've done. You made me this way.
The build-up to the release of More continues until More is released on the 28th of October, featuring Seraphine, and is a full MV. Editing update. For some reason I didn't write about this in more detail, probably because I did this script in one day and got sick of scrolling Seraphine's Twitter for 6 hours, so let's add some more information. Seraphine features at the end of this track as shown singing in both English and Chinese. The production is amazing, her part is beautiful, reflects great into her skin, and it's giving Ariana Grande Fortnite event. It's great. And she really fits in with this League universe, and it's very satisfying to have seen her development until this point. Seraphine continues to talk about the collaboration with fan art, tweets, official art and photo shoots from the entire thing. The KDA Music Twitter releases a lot of artwork of the characters, with some including Seraphine, much like this one where they're all in Kaiser's dance practice or their promotion of Louis Vuitton. She tweets about the final album once it releases, congratulating KDA for the release and the work they put into it, and also talks about her experiences making music for them, and tweets multiple times talking about her feelings regarding everything and her learning experiences. A day after the album releases, Seraphine tweets, "I think it's time to take a break and explore something new. I gotta live life so that I have something to sing about." 4 hours later, posting this. And that's the end. There have been no tweets or social media posts from Seraphine since. But now, she's in the game, and the League players have a lot to say. There have been a lot of videos on this that will say it a lot better than me. But since this is a deep dive, and this is probably the most significant part of her reputation on the internet, I'll go into it in moderate detail. One thing that is not featured at all on her Twitter, and something I've purposely not been mentioning, is the Runeterra version of herself, which obviously makes sense since the KDA universe and League universe are separate things. Of course, Riot hyped her release into the game throughout her continued marketing of her character and through the KDA music until she was finally put on the PvE on October 12th. And on the same reveal as her ultimate skin, she's finally in the game with her default appearance, all her abilities, voice lines and game lore, and people hate it. So let's break it down into each section and talk about why. This brings us to the first criticism. She doesn't fit into League's universe. If you remember from earlier, during the September roadmap, she was a songstress for Piltover and Zorn. And here is Piltover and Zorn. Yeah, her base design really does not fit into the world she's put into, and to be fair, she doesn't fit anywhere at all. Her base model looks like her KDA skin if she was to have an epic like the other girls, or if she was in the Star Guardian skin line. Here are some Zorn and Piltover designs for reference next to Seraphine. People hated this especially because her champion theme felt entirely unattached to the main game. Champions in Runeterra are taken with an initial concept and develop over a period of time until they function as a playable character and fit into the lore of the world. Skins created are irrelevant and usually fit with an upcoming event or happen to coincide with an upcoming skin line. However, Seraphine seems to be the opposite. Seraphine is a KDA member first, and a person in Runeterra second. This frustrated a lot of players, and you can see why. A lot of people have reimagined Seraphine, and honestly Riot needs to hire fan designers because she looks so good like this, and it fits much better into the universe. Of course, an inaccurate base design isn't enough to warrant the tidal wave of hate that Seraphine received, so let's move on to her secondary criticism, her Runeterra lore. Seraphine's release lore was not great. She was brought up in Piltover with two Zornite parents. She sang throughout her childhood and eventually found out she could hear people's souls. She couldn't escape these voices, and her parents hated seeing her struggle, so they scraped together money to purchase a Hextech crystal to craft a device that dampened her magical hearing, and finally she felt silence. In the crystal, she heard a bracken. If you've seen Arcane, you'd probably be familiar with Hextech, but what they don't explain is the current origin, which is that a Hextech crystal is a dead body from a bracken, which is the species of one of the in-game characters Skarner. Through these Hextech crystals, Seraphine could hear the stories told by the lost bracken souls clearly. She is the only one who can hear them, and the only one who knows of their fate.
I miss your kind too, Skarner. Would you like to hear their song?
She uses the power of the crystals to build up a music empire in Piltover and Zorn, ignoring the stories and the pain of the bracken the entire time. In fact, the hoverboard she stands on is powered by Hextech. Seraphine, throughout everything, is depicted as a caring and gentle individual. Seraphine wants to sing because she wants to unite the wealthy city of Piltover and the undercity of Zorn. And so with the help of this mass-murdered and extinct species, she becomes famous. Yes, this lore isn't great. It doesn't match her character, it's sadistic and sort of scummy, and people were very vocal about that fact. Justice for Skarner trended on Twitter, mass hatred of Seraphine through memes and just general posting was made, and an entire fuss about her messed up origins was blown out of proportion. So that's why they tried to hotfix it. In her fixed lore, she can't really hear the voice anymore and can't comprehend it. The voice that helped her understand a crowd and how to sing with them was now felt as an influence. These changes make it so that she doesn't actually learn the fate of the Bracken race, She doesn't know that the hex crystals and the entire power source of Zorn and Piltover are the dead souls of this species. It does clear up some things, but it's true that her lore isn't as strong as it could have been. But I think people were being a bit dramatic. Players called it disturbing, but other champions have much worse lore and are literal mass murderers, and they seem to think that Seraphine is worse.
People love drinks. Oh my god, mass murder, assault, terrorism, theft, vandalism, kidnapping, animal cruelty, aggravated jaywalking, extra animal cruelty and mass murder.
This is probably because her KDA lore has taken forefront and is much more believable and thought out. Personally, I think that's okay. I know this is a hot take, but not every champion has to have extremely detailed lore that links to the main storylines and has this massive influence over other characters. Sometimes people just want a pop star and a beacon of hope. How are you going to look at superfan Caitlyn and deny her that?
Seraphine! Would it be inappropriate to ask you for an autograph?
The next criticism is her most controversial talking point, so I hope I'll be able to explain my point of view on it well. The fact her base appearance and lore are quite weak really just hammered in people's heads that she was made to make money. The fact her KDA skin had such a high production and marketing, which is literally something I've been talking about for the first 3/4 of this video, and her real base model had barely any thought, really just pushed the idea that Seraphine was a cash cow, a pretty pink-haired woman who would sell a lot of skins. And this is especially true due to her Chinese ethnicity. Let me explain. If we look at the favorite champions of the North America server compared to the Chinese servers, there is quite a big difference. The American players liked interesting thematics, some monster champions, and of course conventionally attractive men and women. If we look at China's, it's just the conventionally attractive men and women. Add on the fact that Worlds 2020 was held in Shanghai, and a lot of Seraphine's character design begins to make sense. People also felt that she was a cash grab due to the fact her release skin is an ultimate, the most expensive skins you can purchase in the game, standing at 3,250 RP, which is the equivalent to just under $25, just for her release skin. This was especially frustrating for people as the underdog champions, which were usually monster champions, were not receiving skins at all, let alone at the high level Seraphine was. However, during this year especially, Riot were working on delivering skins to champions like Aurelion Sol, who were in something of a skin drought, and skins for champions like these often underperform. Skins like Seraphine fund the less popular champions. And Riot is a company before it's a charity. Profits have to be prioritized, and with all the money that was pushed into Seraphine's extremely expensive marketing, along with KDA's price for the comeback, they needed all the money they can get. And people are acting like the result of all this still wasn't great. They created something amazing with the KDA All Out album and really impressed their community. People saying that this was just to sell skins are completely ignoring all the effort that went into Seraphine's marketing. They released covers, an insane amount of artwork, and people are very talented and spent a lot of time on this. Next, her abilities and voice. Personally, I have no issues with either of these, but of course you can form your own opinion, it's preference. She's compared to Sona a lot, another musical champion in the game. Sona is mute and speaks through her chords and arias, which emanates magic. If we directly compare their kits, there isn't much similar at all, and if anything, I'd compare Seraphine to Nico.
Your turn to shine. Crescendo. Mwah. How about a call and response? Elegy. Feeling brave. Your turn to shine. Get ready. Pickle. Mwah. How about a call and response? Aye, aye. Get ready. Pickle. Beauty shines from inside.
There are only so many different abilities that are in the game and ones that fit the character. Personally, I adore Seraphine's playstyle. I love enchanters and I love supports and I also love Nico. Seraphine's ultimate is satisfying, her passives make her not entirely brain dead, and her abilities are very fun to play with. She still feels completely different to Sona, who everyone compared her to and said she was basically a rework of. Their thematics are really the only things that are similar, and we have multiple champions with the same thematics.
Whole world hears me now.
Something even those who like Seraphine would admit is that her voice lines are annoying. Here's a few more of them.
Hello, world. I'm Seraphine, and you are beautiful. It can't be as simple as us versus them. I know if I sing loud enough, they'll listen. Everyone fights to be heard. I'll fight to listen. Breathe with your belly. Breathe with your belly. Breathing is hard.
Honestly, I kind of love her ult sound. It's actually so bad it's good. It's just the sound of demons before you die. She's seen as cringy and way too happy in them, and yeah, for some of them it's a bit much, but it's her character, and it's definitely the character that we followed on Twitter for all these months. Finally, the marketing. A main criticism throughout this is Riot seems to exploit the character's mental health, which is a serious topic in itself. People need to understand that fictional characters can have mental health issues. It's part of her story and part of what makes her realistic as a character. I talked about this a bit before. Seraphine seems to deal with imposter syndrome, where she doesn't feel like she deserves everything she's worked for. I get imposter syndrome all the time, and what people might just see as emotionally exploitative is just a realistic representation of an actual struggle people go through. It's not emotionally exploitative to show her personality and struggles. It's who she is as a character. Well, it's who her KDA character is anyway. This parasocial relationship is created, but that has the potential to be created with anyone. People have known she is a fictional character since the leak, and clearly she could be assumed to be at the very least a persona even before that. Seraphine is relatable, aspirational, and optimistic. In return, fans respond with adoration and love, and respond as if she was speaking directly to them. Riot encourages this with Seraphine, which can be seen as problematic, but to me it's just staying true to that kind of community. I'm very open to people's opinions on this, and this is just my own. I have no idea where to put this, but another controversy that arose was that Seraphine was based on a real person's likeness, which is a whole thing. To sum it up, the woman Stephanie claims her inspiration for Seraphine due to her dating a Riot Games employee with her personality and very similar background choices to Seraphine. But of course, Riot denies it. All this together caused a lot of hatred. And I mean a lot. Every social media was flooded calling Seraphine a cash grab, insulting Riot directly, and amassing a lot of dislikes on her champion spotlight. The bar for personal conduct for League players is low, but this was downright cruel. It really just represents the toxicity in the League community and how fast people are willing to hop the bandwagon, because, let's be honest, hopping the bandwagon is fun. The Seraphine Reddit, r/Seraphine mains, talked about their experience with toxicity while playing the champion in the game. They were verbally abused, having their games griefed if Seraphine even made it through the champion selection screen. The Reddit itself was flooded with hate about the same criticisms as I've talked about before, with only a few people supporting her. and fans preaching being the better person and spreading positivity. In general, it was a mess. So where does Seraphine stand in 2022? Seraphine was very strong after her release, which actually had people who focused more on gameplay like her. Oh, you simple-minded League players. Hey guys, EditingBot here. I just want to say something I didn't mention for some reason. So upon Seraphine's release, she was intended to be a mid laner champion, as we've talked about, but in the end she really turned into a support. I don't know what they were thinking by making her a mid lane champion, considering her abilities rely on allies and building notes with her passive. It really makes no sense. She's not even on the mid lane tab anymore in Champion Select, she's literally a support now, so just thought I'd mention it, considering I forgot to for some reason. It's pretty significant actually, but yeah. Now though, Seraphine's recent win rates are 48% to 51%, pretty bad. If we compare this to her original champion, Sona, we can see that Sona is a lot more successful, with a pretty consistent 53.7% win rate. The hatred bandwagon for Seraphine seems to have dropped off though, and now Seraphine is just another champion in the game that people passively dislike. And that's okay, you can dislike a champion, but in retrospect, the entirety of hate for her was misguided and a whole lot of dogpiling. Yes, there are many things wrong with her, but she isn't the absolute worst. Seraphine was created as an empathetic, inspiring character whose social media marketing was met with mixed reception and twisted her into this genocidal and selfish manipulator with the help of rights neglect. And personally, as you can probably tell, I am a brainwashed Seraphine fan, and I will defend her until the end of time, because I really feel all the hate for her wasn't entirely warranted. So we're at the end of the video, hopefully if I put this in the right place, and I want to just say something real quick. I put so much effort into this. This is my first video essay. I don't even know if it's good. I think I've just listened to my own voice so much that I didn't even know at this point. I just want to get it over and done with. I've had a great time recording all the script at 2 AM over the course of like 5 days. I'm really living my best life. If you found this interesting, leave a comment. I would love to know your opinions on what you thought was good and what you thought was bad so I can improve it in the future, because this was really fun to make, but also totally consumed my life, so you know, we move. I just want to thank you for watching the entire thing, assuming if you're here you've watched the entire thing, and listening to me talk about a pretty pink-haired lady for 40 minutes. I hope you have a nice day and drink responsibly.